Hello, everybody, and good morning. We are here for the second attempt to launch the orbital or near orbital flight test of Starship. Things are looking good this morning. We got a bit of fog, but it's slowly burning off in Boca Chica. The countdown is proceeding well, and everything seems to be going to plan. I'm just going to take a moment here to send out a tweet that I am live. Flight test. Doo, 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 doo. And throw some links in there, which is always helpful for people. Let me know if you can hear me. And there we are. Excellent. Thank you, Mud Trucker. Thank you, Darge. Good morning. Ba-ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Okay. Da, 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 da. We should be going live with the SpaceX live stream in about 8 minutes or so, I believe. All right. All right. So, things have been proceeding well with the countdown this morning. There seems to have been no hiccups so far. SpaceX took the 72 hours or so to get a bunch of work done on the vehicle. You could see lots of coverage of them scurrying around the bottom of the booster. Looks like they did some work on one of the hydraulic units for the thrust vector control system. It is worth noting that the hydraulic thrust vector control system will only be present on this booster. They are switching to electric thrust vector control as of the next booster, which is actually booster 9. This booster that we see today is booster 7. Booster 9 is more or less ready to step through a testing campaign before flight. It has all of its engines. So theoretically, they could follow on this test quite quickly if things go well. So sun has been up in Boca Chica for about 35 minutes. Things are slowly getting better in terms of visibility. You can actually see pretty well now. Hopefully that fog continues to burn off here for this last 50 minutes or so before launch. Mudtruck, they didn't actually explain how they fixed the frozen valve. A lot of people speculated that they could probably solve the issue by just changing their procedure a little bit. And sort of, I would imagine managing the temperatures a little more closely. Part of the reason this is an issue, of course, is because they are using subcooled propellants. They SpaceX started this trend several years ago with Falcon 9 of using because for a long time the rocket launches used propellants that were only just as cold as they needed to be liquid. But SpaceX went the extra step and went, well, if you cool them down far more than just how much they need to be a liquid, you can basically they get more dense as they get colder, and you can fit more fuel onto the rocket. They are continuing that trend with Starship. So you can shove more fuel and oxidizer in your vehicle. But because they're using subcooled propellants, things are very, very cold. That's also why you see, massive amounts of ice building up on the outside of the booster and the ship there. You do see that with most rockets, but it's especially present with subcooled propellants because temps are very low. Once again, the NASA plane, the WB-57, has arrived from Houston. It is currently circling the launch site and waiting to take high-resolution imagery of the launch. So we should get some really good coverage, really good visuals. Perhaps not live. I'm not sure how much of the WB-57 we'll see live. Usually there's one or two shots on a NASA live stream, but I'm not sure if SpaceX will have access to that live. But certainly afterwards, we should see some great shots of the ascent. We are 48 minutes away here. We should have SpaceX's live stream going live in just like the next few minutes. They frequently are a little bit late with their live streams, but we shall see. How's everybody feeling this morning? Oh, my trucker, you've had a day. Well, it's better than not having a day, I suppose, but what's going on? Ah, busy at work, yes. Thankfully, my work was allowed me to take some time off, short notice to cover this. And, ooh, look, my hair is amazing. Whatever. Early morning lunch, that's right. Yeah, I'm excited to cover this. If we do get a liftoff, I'm going to cover it as long as it's flying. The total mission time potentially is about 90 minutes from liftoff until the eventual splashdown in the Pacific Ocean near Kauai. Wow. Hopefully those low-level clouds start burning off. You can see some blue through them, and you can see the launch site just barely through from this shot here on South Padre Isle. Yeah, hope for the people who are there watching. Hopefully in 45 minutes we get rid of some of the cloud here, but it is definitely improving. All right, I'm going to go check on the SpaceX live stream and see if we can do. Yep, they're supposed to be live in 2.5 minutes, so we'll sit here for a minute and wait for them to go live. Once again, we will be joined by David. Probably, 15, 20 minutes before the launch. Yeah, here's hoping we get deeper in the count today and get a launch. We do, of course, I have to repeat, as always, there's one big thing we haven't even attempted yet. The closest SpaceX has come so far to lighting all of the engines is in January. They got a really good firing of 31 engines, which is 2 short of the 33 that are on the vehicle. One of them was manually aborted before the firing, and one auto-aborted during the firing. No destruction or damage or anything, but just aborted due to off-nominal conditions. SpaceX has designed the count so that the engines start firing 6 seconds, I believe, before liftoff. This gives them the opportunity to evaluate how many engines did successfully fire, if they're all firing correctly and properly and there's no issues. A lot of people have speculated that if they don't get all 33, they probably won't lift off. And they've also not fired a large number of engines at 90% thrust, which is the plan today. Their test in January was at 50% thrust to try and save some damage to the launch pad. So, some challenges ahead. If we're lucky, we might get a liftoff. But, we still have to play with the engine gods here. Should be entertaining. Just going to see here if there are any updates. Because it looks like we should be going live with the live stream here momentarily. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Just checking Twitter here to see if we have any announcements. Looks like it's quiet so far. Just waiting on the beginning of the live stream. Whoa. Alright, this deserved to be called out. Jeez. I'm going to share this with you guys. Make sure that this can be seen on the stream. Yeah, it looks like it can be. Alex Van has some last minute renders here, or last hour renders as he mentioned. But some beautiful renders. Check this out. Man. This is what could be happening in about, an hour from now. It is worth noting that there are 3 Raptor vacuum engines on the second stage, and there are also 3 Raptor sea level engines. A couple things the sea level engines do. First of all, they will be firing, as far as we are aware, but the word is they will be firing. To get the ship into orbit. They're a little less efficient, but they can still help a lot. Also, the vacuum engines don't have any steering. So the sea level engines provide the like really rough steering. Obviously, they have some like RCS and stuff on board to do fine maneuvering, but any big steering has to be done by the Raptor sea level engines. In future flights, when they're looking towards reusability, also the Raptor sea level engines will be the ones performing the landing burn, the flip and burn maneuver that we've seen in the past. But amazing work by Alex Fan. Beautiful, beautiful work. Over there on Twitter. All right. Still waiting for them to go live. Bum, 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 bum. How much throttling can we do? Oh, we're live with the web stream. Here we go. All right, bam. We are in 4K. How much throttling can the just a second, I check my audio levels here. It looks like the web stream is a little bit too loud. There we go. That's better. That's better. That's better. All right. So the Raptor engines were designed for deep throttling. I don't know if there's a whole lot of throttling capacity on the vacuum engines, excuse me. I don't think it's as required for vacuum engines. A lot of times what you're trying to do with throttling is provide a very specific amount of thrust for things like landing. And those types of maneuvers. And also on liftoff, sea level engines need that throttling ability to control loads on the vehicle as it's ascending. So I'm not really sure, actually. I haven't heard anything about the throttle on the vacuum engines, but they are still Raptor engines, so I expect they would have some, probably in the range of from 100% down to like maybe 40 to 50%. My mic is always super soft. Do you want me to crank my volume? Darch? Let me know. Mud Trucker too. Because I don't want it to just be Darge going, yeah, crank the volume, and then Mud Trucker falls off his chair. That would be problematic. All right, I'll just max myself out in OBS, in Streamlabs, I mean. And how does that sound? Is that okay? Alrighty. Let me know if I start clipping or anything, because I am pretty high on the meter here. Alright, alright, alright. So we should be about 37 minutes, I believe, from liftoff right now. Yeah. Hopefully we get some more interesting views here momentarily. Just checking to see if we have any updates. Looks like no updates, which is good news at this point. Everything proceeding nominally. Yep, no updates. Does anyone have any questions? Queries? Wonderings? Curiosities? Just a reminder that today's launch, they will be soft landing the booster. They'll be doing a boost back burn, so they'll do the initial phase of flight. The booster and ship will separate. And the booster will come back and do a soft landing on the ocean's surface. They are not going to be recovering it, but they will be landing it soft on the surface of the ocean, and then it will topple over into the water. They will have boats nearby to make sure that it sinks, because they want it to sink. If it doesn't, there's a whole mess of stuff they have to do to make sure that it sinks. The Starship will be doing will be put into a near orbital plane, and but not quite orbit, and it will re-enter heat shield first over the Pacific Ocean. It will do a belly flop all the way through the atmosphere, lighting up those heat shield tiles all the way down until it hits the surface of the ocean. It will not be doing a landing burn of any kind. Ooh, beautiful views here of Boca Chica. Here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go! Alright. Just gonna send out a few messages here. Of course, I accidentally closed my bloody Chrome window. That's helpful. Very helpful. Alright.
Good morning. On your screen is a live view of Starship as it awaits its second attempt at our first ever integrated flight test from Starbase, Texas. If all goes well,
somebody's got to cut the music.
Super Heavy booster, which we collectively call Starship, lift off together for the first time in just over in exactly 33 minutes from now.
Oh, did I screwed up. That's what it was. Me who screwed up. Jeez. Good job, Eric.
In Hawthorne, California.
And I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a space operations engineer here at SpaceX. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that we stood down from our initial launch attempt on Monday.
All
was
right.
due to a frozen pressurization valve.
We're 32 minutes until launch.
SpaceX
Looks like everything's going well.
The issue and determined that this valve had some moisture in it, which caused the valve to freeze up when we were loading super chilled liquid oxygen into the booster.
Now, these valves are super important because we actually need a pressurant to go back into the tank as we consume propellant, and we actually use a pressurant that comes from the Raptor engines. It's heated down there and then put back in the tank. And so a frozen valve there would be a problem during the launch.
Yeah, and that's important. You can think of it like drinking out of a thin plastic water bottle. If you're chugging that water, it crinkles if you don't let air back into it. So we use that hot exhaust gas from the Raptor engines to refill that consumed volume as propellant is depleted. So it was a great find by the countdown, and that's why we have a countdown, is to allow us to find these issues prior to liftoff.
Oh, here we go.
That being said, our team's learned a lot over the last 48 hours, and we are ready to give it another go. As many of you know, Starship is the latest and largest vehicle developed to date by SpaceX. It will be the world's
Okay,
most
I will
powerful
turn up
launch vehicle that's
the
fully
stream.
developed and have twice the thrust of the Saturn V rocket. But the key breakthrough with Starship
Actually, I'm
is
going
that
to
it will be
use a different
fully
method to turn up the
reusable
stream.
and
Let's do
capable
this.
of carrying up
There.
to
Let's try that.
150 metric tons of payload to orbit in a
How's that
reusable
doing?
configuration, and up to 250 metric tons when expendable.
Well,
For
the fog is
context,
starting to
rocket
burn off, it
B
looks
is
like.
only
That's good.
partially reusable. We recovered the largest part of the rocket, that's called the first stage, but we
Beautiful
don't recover
shots.
the second stage. And Falcon 9's heaviest payload to date is just over 17 metric tons. So 150 to 250 metric tons on Starship is an order of magnitude greater in terms of the payload capacity.
So 250 metric tons, just so you're aware, would be an expendable capacity. They would be expending the Starship in that instance.
Into an operational program. And the primary objective today is to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle.
All right, I've turned up the stream again.
The Starship spacecraft in the past, it is going to be the first attempt of Super Heavy and the first opportunity for us to validate how the two vehicles operate together.
We are so excited for this. The purposes for today's flight, we will consider any data received that helps inform and improve future builds of Starship as a success. From a milestone standpoint, our main goal is...
Oh, these drone shots are amazing.
Every milestone beyond that is a bonus. The further we fly, the more data we can collect.
Now, if it does all go well, then we'll expect the Super Heavy to light up its 33 Raptor engines at the base of the vehicle and lift off, clear the pad away down from in Starbase, Texas. And then it'll go into ascent. About 3 minutes into its ascent, we're going to expect to see Super Heavy separate from the Starship. It'll perform a flip maneuver, and then it'll execute a boost back burn, and we're going to be targeting a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
And while that's happening, we hope to see Starship's 6 second stage engines.
Thank you, Darch. That's helpful.
Coasts for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before re-entering Earth's atmosphere and make its own hard landing in the Pacific Ocean about 250-ish kilometers offshore. Now, we are not really expecting many camera views after separation. That is to say, if we even make it that far. But we do promise that whatever views we do have, we will bring them to you live.
There, I'll boost
we have a couple of
boost the audio a bit
along
more.
The way, so if we are able to get good telemetry, assuming we make it that far into the ascent, then of course those will be available on the stream. And also worth mentioning today, like the whole just getting the vehicle off the pad is a complex endeavor. We are going to be trying to reduce complexity by attempting those hard water landings instead of trying a normal landing like you're used to on Falcon 9.
Exactly. We are not attempting to recover these
top
vehicles,
of yellow,
so,
low red.
Hard landings in store.
But I just cranked it because you were asking me.
Now, in a little bit,
to
we'll
crank
take
it.
a closer look
So I
at
cranked
the
it.
vehicle and the launch pad. But first, the teams have been doing a tremendous amount of work over the last few months. In fact, there's a great shot of our
really
team up here bright and early to watch the launch. Teams have been prepping really for the last few days, especially to try to get in today's launch attempt.
And here you can see a live view of the South Padre Amphitheater, where both SpaceX employees, friends,
I'll trim
and
some
family,
off of
and
the
members of the public
the
are
stream again
gathering
here.
to watch Starship.
How does this sound right
lift
now?
off,
Is that
and
okay?
you
Do
can
you
see
hear me over the
crowds are
stream?
gathering there as well. And of course, we want to give a shout out to the SpaceX team. You see them there on screen, members of our launch command, our Star Command Center.
Awesome.
That is our
Awesome.
Starbase Launch Control
So,
Center.
Yep, those are the
hey everybody, we are freaking
freaking
27.5 minutes from Starship launch. Let's do this thing.
27 minutes from now.
And one thing I do want to mention, I misspoke.
Beautiful
it's not the
shots
South
this
Padre
morning.
Amphitheater. It's the Cameron County Amphitheater.
Now, the entire Starship structure on your screen is made from stainless steel. When it's stacked, it stands about 120 meters tall. It's about 9 meters around. And we have this awesome
reminder,
video that shows
everybody,
you,
largest
just
rocket,
how
most
big
powerful
that
rocket
is. You can see one of our
ever made.
technicians there doing some final prep work in
Here
advance
she is,
of today's test.
in all her
And,
glory.
Man, there's the 120-meter monster.
The person just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Now, just like Falcon 9, Starship has 2 stages.
Yes,
which
that
we'll
launch
talk
tower
more about
beside it
those
is
in a
almost
minute.
500 feet
In
tall.
addition to those 2 stages, Starship actually has a 3rd stage, which we call Stage 0. It consists of all the launch pad infrastructure built around the rocket, as you can see there on
man,
your screen.
it's awesome. The
and
fog is
it's
starting to go
thrilling
away.
engineering feat in its own
Hopefully
right.
the people at South
we've got a
Padre
great
can see
shot
the
there
rocket
of
well
the
now.
various different components of it. The pad,
What's
the
500 feet in real
infrastructure,
units? That is about
all that is required to get into filling the tank.
150
Now,
meters?
Let's talk about the Super Heavy. Its name says everything.
I believe.
It's super, it's heavy, it's super heavy. When it's operational, it'll be responsible for providing the power
160
to escape
meters,
that
my bad.
mighty gravitational pull of Earth
160
that we've got
meters tall
here,
for the
and
launch
take
tower.
Starship into orbit.
The booster itself stands about 70 meters tall and is roughly the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, which is just
Wow.
so crazy to me. But this super heavy booster has a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9.
How many football fields?
and
Well,
with
161 meters
33
would be
much
about,
larger
like,
engines.
what,
We have a beautiful
1.5
view here. This is
football
one of my
fields?
favorite
1.6
views that we're
football
going to get
fields?
today. Those are our 33 Raptor engines at the base of the super heavy booster.
Yep, and you can see they're in a couple of different rings here. So we've got the outer ring of 20 static engines. They're going to be providing a huge amount of thrust today to lift off the entire stack. But then we've got the 13 gimbaling engines in the middle, and they're going to be providing the tilt maneuvers and also helping to reorient the booster as it comes back later in today's flight.
Yeah, and when we say gimbal, it's basically tilting or almost wiggling the engines a few degrees and in
How many
either
washing
direction,
machines? Well,
to
washing
allow the
machine's
booster
probably about a
to
meter
steer
tall,
itself,
right?
just as we
So it
said,
would be
Shiva.
And
roughly
we'll get some great shots later
160
of
washing
actually a wiggle
machines.
test that we perform ahead of liftoff just to make sure that all those engines are able to control their full range of control authority.
One thing to note, those Raptor engines are completely designed and manufactured in-house. They are,
Definitely
as many of you
mud trucker.
know that have been following along, they are a reusable methane oxygen staged combustion type engine. It's a lot of words there. And ultimately, that staged combustion means that we combust the propellant in stages. We kind of pre-combust them in a pre-burner, and by doing so it allows the engine to be more efficient, i.e. more powerful.
Yeah. Now, like Falcon 9, the Super Heavy has 4 grid fins to assist with orienting itself in its return back to Earth. We got a shot of them there beneath the Starship's aft flaps. Now, as we talked about earlier, Super Heavy is not going to be attempting a land landing today, but with this flight test, we're still trying to get as much data as we can. We're focusing on the fundamental systems and operations, so that's the liftoff portion.
Man,
but
vehicles
vehicle
seem so alive with all of the crazy venting and ice and everything coming off of it. It's
I love that great view of the
just
fins
amazing.
there. Now, Starship, or the
What a beautiful
spacecraft,
vehicle.
is the second stage.
And yes,
it
ass flaps
makes
for
up
sure,
the
mud
top
trucker.
portion of the vehicle. It's designed for carrying passengers and cargo.
Some people
to
think this
Earth
vehicle's
orbit
ugly.
and
I
beyond.
don't see it as ugly at
stands
all.
About 50 meters
I know
tall,
it's like
which is a little taller than
not
the
the
Statue
prettiest
of
thing in the
Liberty.
world, but rockets
It's
rarely are the
comprised
prettiest
of
thing in
6
the world.
Raptor engines, 3 sea level and 3 vacuum engines, which are optimized to operate in the vacuum of space, and they provide a maximum of 258,000 tons of thrust in vacuum. Spacecraft is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude, which you can see those 2 forward flaps there on your screen now. So they help control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location.
All right,
Now,
S-24.
one thing we got to mention, the
Time
heat
for some
shields.
fun.
They are iconic. Starship is wrapped in a heat shield, which is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic
You can call it the BFR if you want. It hasn't been the BFR for a few years.
And that's really important because the temperatures can
For
be
those
as high
wondering, the
as
BFR was the original
2,600
name
degrees
for this vehicle
Fahrenheit.
when it was
The
first
hex-shaped
announced.
tiles, like the
It
ones
has
that
evolved
Shiva
since
and
then.
I have, roughly make up about 2/3 of the vehicle. We can see that we
Wow.
have some different shapes. Mine is slightly curved. As you can imagine, it sits on the curved portions of the Starship vehicle.
Now, the one that I've got is a hexagonal tile that's more flat, and it's really used for the
That's
flatter
cool.
structures on the vehicle. And we need a heat shield because when you're coming back in from re-entry,
I want
we're going
Starship heat shield
supersonic,
tiles
we're
as
compressing all
coasters.
the air ahead of us. That ends up causing a lot of heating along the surface. And
What a
heat
great
shield
drone
that
shot.
would go straight into the structure.
Yeah, one thing that's amazing to me, especially when I first picked up one of these heat shield tiles, is that they're so light. They almost feel like they're made out of foam. They're that light, and they kind of sound like it too. And one thing that we do want to
Wow,
mention,
look at the tank farm going.
in order
Holy
to
man.
reject the maximum amount of heat during that entry, like Shiva was just saying, they're black, and that's because black helps reject that heat that is building up on the exterior of the heat shield.
Now, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing as opposed to taking off and landing like an airplane. And that's because that's really important because we don't have runways on the moon or Mars. Fortunately, at those destinations, the gravity is not as high as it is here on Earth. On Mars, the gravity is just 1/3 of what it is here on Earth, and on the moon, it's just 1/6. So in both of those cases, Starship with just its
So,
engines,
you know,
can
standard
take off without
reminder,
needing
this
super
is a
heavy
flight
booster
test
like we do need here on planet Earth.
on a
Now,
vehicle
for
that
today's
they've
test,
done their best to
Starship does
test,
not
but
have its
they
landing
really
legs
need to
attached
get
because,
into
like we
flight
said
to really
before,
properly
it won't be returning anywhere.
test it.
Starship is expected to make a very hard
There's a
ocean
good
landing,
chance
which if we even
that
make it
we
that
have
far
some sort of
and manage to get
explosion
any views,
today if it gets off the
will
launch
certainly
pad.
make for a
But
very
we will
exciting
see.
end to today's test. At this point in time, we are 20 minutes, or just over 20 minutes from liftoff. Let's check in.
What do you
with John
folks think? What do you think
Innsbrucker for
the
a
chances
status
are
update.
that it
Hey,
makes
John,
some
how's
sort
it
of
looking?
boom, like in
Thanks,
terms
Kate.
of explosion?
I'm John Innsbrucker, Principal
that
Integration
isn't
Engineer
intended.
here at SpaceX. We're currently loading propellant from the ground system into both the first and second stages. Now,
John!
both vehicles use the same two propellants. That commonality helps build the reliability. And the fuel today is liquid methane.
I like
Melts at a
that, Darge.
temperature of just over 100 kelvins.
Oh, wow,
That's
they have a
about
live
minus
view of
272 degrees below
tanks.
zero on the Fahrenheit scale.
Amazing. Oh, like
Now,
a
liquid methane
fill
is a different
percentage.
fuel from Falcon 9. That booster uses RP-1 kerosene.
Weather, range, and vehicle
However,
are go.
our
Payload
oxidizer
is
liquid
not
oxygen,
available.
And that's the same as
which makes
Falcon 9.
sense.
Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. Now, leading up to where we are right now, we had a go-no-go poll. That was conducted just after T-minus 2 hours. And once the team gave their goes, we started loading propellants onto the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 39 minutes. At T-minus 1 hour and 22 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship. The second stage you can see on your screen right there. Now, propellant loading of the Starship's second stage main tanks completed at about the T-minus 27-minute mark, at which time we then began loading the two header tanks in the nose of the second stage. Now, at T-minus 3 minutes, when the first stage super heavy propellant loading completes, that means we'll have all the propellant on the rocket, and the vehicle will be fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. Now, right now, at T-minus 19 minutes and counting from liftoff, the weather and winds are looking good. We have been watching the ground level winds. They're at 18 miles an hour. As the morning continues, they will increase, but that is below our limits right now. We're also looking at upper altitude winds. We're waiting for one more balloon, but we believe that we're going to be go. On the launch vehicle itself, the teams, the good news, they're not working any issues right now. But if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, if we have to hold, we have a backup launch window. However, we're not sure when it would be. It could be 24 or 48 hours after today. It'll depend on how far we get into the countdown. But right now, heading for a T0 at 8:28 Central, 13:28
Yeah, it was the
Universal
drone
time.
doing that, not
Kate,
not
everything is looking
the
good.
YouTube stream.
Awesome news. Now, in order to make life multiplanetary, we need a fully reusable vehicle that's capable of carrying a huge amount of cargo and a lot of people to orbit and have a pretty quick turnaround. The idea is to effectively reuse launch vehicles just like airplanes.
Yeah, imagine if you had to wait for a new airplane to be constructed every time you wanted to fly. You'd rarely go anywhere, and for most of us, it would be completely unaffordable. In order for us to get to Mars and back with lots of people, lots of cargo, multiple times, reusability really is a must.
In advance of
Raptor
our first
engines are
mission
chilling
to
down in
Mars,
preparation for
Starship will
liftoff.
execute a number of missions with both cargo and people, starting with Earth orbit and eventually expanding to the moon and beyond.
Now, in the near term and a bit closer to home, Starship will also be critical to other programs. Once fully operational, it'll deliver the full-size and upgraded version of our Starlink satellites, and that's super exciting because our next-generation satellites represent a step forward in Starlink's capabilities and will allow us to connect millions of more people around the world with high-speed internet to watch launch webcasts.
Such an exciting future ahead of us, but first, let's talk a little about how we got to where we are today.
Now, Starship's testing ramped up in July of 2019 with our Starhopper prototype, sort of a short version of the Starship that we see today. There's a great photo of it. It was just over 18 meters tall. It had a single Raptor engine, and we had it to test fly and perform low-level altitude maneuvers and attempt landing. The initial test flight, or hop, reached about 20 meters in altitude. That was followed by the one that you've got on your screen here. This was our 150-meter altitude hop. We went up, took a little jaunt away about 100 meters or so.
I love
away
this
from the
Starhopper
launch
video.
pad. use that
It's
Raptor
amazing.
engine to fly and actually land. And actually, this hopper is actually down at Starbase now.
Yeah, I love this shot. It's just so fun to see it fly. After a series of 150-meter hop tests with earlier prototypes, the Starship program saw a major breakthrough during a test flight of the vehicle known as Serial Number 8, or SN8. You can see it there on your screen now. In December 2020, SN8 demonstrated a first-of-its-kind controlled aerodynamic descent and landing flip maneuver. 2 words, belly flop. The SN8 prototype rose to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers or 7.8 miles and conducted a belly flop maneuver, which you see there.
Oh, beautiful tests. I
during its
love these
descent.
tests.
While it didn't,
I think you guys were joining me for these, so
major
it was
milestone
great
in the
days.
development of Starship.
Thank you for watching then, and thank you for watching now.
In fact, we should be able to see that unfortunately failed landing. Boom. It was fun to watch, though.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly, but learned a lot of data. Now, the testing continued on to prototype serial number 9. It took a 10-kilometer flight. That's about 6.2 miles up. In February of 2021, we had a nominal ascent. We executed the engine cutoffs once we got to the top of the altitude.
We're going to
window.
add in
We
a
did that
David
belly
here.
flop maneuver, which is so much more fun to say than controlled descent, aerodynamic maneuver. That was all stable, but unfortunately, we had a dramatic end on this flight as well. We had a failure on one of the engines that resulted in another pretty large fireball. But what was really cool about both of those flights was how much we learned just between serial numbers 8 and 9 and how quickly we were able to achieve our primary objective in those
Hello.
flights.
Welcome
In
to the
addition
show,
that,
sir.
We got so much
Yay, I'm on a show.
of the vehicle in that subsonic regime.
Ultimately,
I am
we performed
cropping your
9
head.
Starship high-altitude test flights in total, and then, as you see on your screen,
That's
there,
the best thing to do with my head.
SN15
Yep, I
launched
think
from
so.
Starbase, reached an altitude of about 10 kilometers, performed a number of maneuvers, and safely returned to the launch site. This was the first.
Welcome,
Starship
David.
prototype to
We have
fly,
13 and a
control,
half minutes to launch.
and be recovered in one.
13
People
minutes.
were cheering like crazy.
And we are,
That was what
things are
happened.
going well. Remember, this is closer than we got
Achieve
on
those
Monday.
successes
It was
in
about
our
60,
Yes.
16 minutes to launch when we had the scrub on Monday, so
is for the upper stage
um,
when it comes to
things are going
reusability
well.
and surviving
Weather is
the
clear,
hypersonic,
range is clear,
really high-heating
vehicle's clear.
phase of entry.
all
Combined
ready.
with the
That's-
later ability
that's
to refill
fantastic.
Starship's tank,
Now we just have to light
once we roll
33
across
engines at
grid while we're
90%
on orbit,
thrust and hope
will
that
enable
things
us
go
to have a
okay.
fully reusable
And see if things go boom.
system. It's designed to
Yeah,
carry both
pretty
crew
much.
and cargo on long duration missions, interplanetary flights,
Oh,
and
man.
will help humanity get to the moon.
I hope this
Mars,
launches
and
today.
beyond in our solar system.
Me too.
This is all just basically our path of progress, basically an iteration on each vehicle. And that iterative process is a core part of how we work here at SpaceX. We like to test early and often.
All right.
Is it weird that I'm flipped?
And that's both for hardware and software. And while it doesn't always go as expected, we learn so much from it, and it informs our next attempt.
Yeah, we learn a lot from actually putting the vehicle through.
A little bit.
I'm going to make you
even the
smaller.
test on
I just
Monday
realized you
gives
are
an opportunity to
much
learn
larger
more
than
about
me
I'm
in my
huge.
head.
into today's launch
I'm
attempt.
huge.
So far, things are looking really good. Now we are
There we
continuing
go.
into our countdown. We're about T-minus 20
I-
That's about right.
minutes to go.
I think I probably talked about this when we tried to do this on Monday, but like,
Well, Shiva, the good news
Mhm.
is that the nets are quiet. The
I don't know which I want more, this to be a successful flight or us to get a giant explosion.
Well, okay. We never want the explosion to be on the pad, because that's just a huge
No.
clusterfuck.
You can see the graphic on the
Yeah.
left-hand side of the
But
Um,
like in air?
most recently,
In air, it would be
began
one of the
loading
largest
liquid
explosions in
oxygen and
history
liquid methane
that
fuel
wasn't
into the
a
header
nuclear
of the
explosion.
Starship. Those are two small
Um,
tanks just
it's
underneath
very
the nose
big.
of the second stage. Now that started at
Like,
T-minus
I wonder where
36
this would
minutes.
rank if it,
That'll be wrapping
like
up
within the
last T-minus
first,
2
minute of launch, if it exploded.
High.
Like, would this be?
It's
would this be
5,000
bigger
tons
than-
of 5,000 tons of
Right now.
propellant.
The super heavy first stage booster propellant loading is continuing, and that'll go till about
Yeah, Tunguska would definitely
wonder-
have it beat. That is true. Non-nuclear explosions, Tunguska pretty much is number one.
and we're also
um,
configuring the launch pad for liftoff.
But
The booster hold down.
It would be
would
very
it-
large.
Would it beat Halifax?
And the second stage
Yes,
quick
probably.
disconnect is beginning
Yeah.
its
Really?
configuration
I would
for
think so, yeah.
release. The methane and liquid oxygen from
Halifax was 2.9 kilotons of TNT.
That's that arm that reaches out from the tower to the base of the second stage. The SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast Guard. Good news is we've not heard any reports of boats in the safety perimeter as the launch vehicle heads out over the Gulf of Mexico.
Where's
So
Tunguska?
right now, T-minus 10 minutes, 40 seconds, and
The
counting.
Tunguska
Everything
event
continues
was
to go
a
well for an on-time launch.
was an
Now, today's test flight is taking place
an
at our
asteroid,
Starbase facility in South
basically an
Texas,
asteroid
and
that
that
exploded
Right.
when it entered the atmosphere.
huge amount of development over the
It
last couple
blew up
of
at
years.
like
One thing I
several
wanna point out
miles
is
off the
great
ground,
view from our
and it
drone.
leveled
Yes, I remember.
it leveled the forest for like I
Pad,
think it was
but
like
in
2,500
the
square
fog, kind of
kilometers.
in the distance,
Just-
in the background, and to the left of the pad.
Yep.
you can
And
actually see our production
It was a
facility,
long time ago, and
which
like
is
hardly
the
anybody
other
lived
part
there,
of Starbase,
and
in addition to the
it
launch
was
pad.
an area
Of course, as
where
part
most people
of
from the Western
rapidly
world weren't allowed to
iterating with our
go.
test program,
So
we're
nobody
also
even
running
went and looked for like 30 years. And what happened?
Which is crazy.
Last year, the
Just because it's a piece of Canadian history, the Halifax explosion is
they're only scaling up.
Oh,
We
it's
think.
massive.
Yeah,
the-
incredible to
it's
think
the
that
largest,
2023, production
non-nuclear
had 5 boosters and 8 Starships going.
explosion.
So, it's
Jesus.
incredible, and it's important to have that system fill in basically the manufacturing.
Starship's
line
Raptor
so that
engines
we
are
have
chilling
product
down
ready to go
as of 9
soon
minutes
as
ago.
done, with this test.
Yeah, exactly. And
We're less than 10 minutes to
ultimately,
lift
we
off,
talked
David.
About how Starship
9 minutes. All right. I like this.
Oh, cool! You can see the header tanks are starting to vent as well. Way up at the very top of Starship, that's venting that's coming off of there. That's the header tanks. It has some tanks that are right in its
Yeah.
nose.
One thing to note: Starbase directly employs more than 1,800.
I always think it looks so neat. Like I wish it wasn't as foggy behind it, so you got a better view of the venting. But like the
Yep.
steam, the venting coming off it is
This
just
is a
amazing.
view from
Yep.
The Cameron County
Man.
Amphitheater. And
Poor people in
it's-
South Potter, you
there's a
could
crowd
just
there,
barely see the
and
rocket.
you could tell
Although
by
I'm
the
sure once
energy
it
here
lights,
in
it'll be very
Auckland as
visible,
well,
but-
that everyone's getting really exciting. I feel my own heart rate going up and up.
Oh, they'll see it, they'll hear it, they'll feel it.
They'll hear it for sure. Yeah, yeah. No,
Starship,
it'll
you're
be
gonna feel it down there.
it'll be a thing.
When this thing lifts off from the pad.
All right.
We've actually got a
8.5
great shot
minutes,
here
folks.
of
Here we go, here
the
we go.
natural surroundings around the pad. Oddly enough, most of the pads end up being around sort of wild locations like this. But coming up on T-minus 8 minutes, I think it's another good time for check-in with John.
Thank you, Shiva. T-minus just over 8 minutes to the first test flight of Starship.
Funny tie-in to Star Citizen, the Halifax explosion. There's a story about a radio operator that stopped a train from showing up before the explosion and saved a couple hundred people. And I named my Endeavor in Star Citizen after. I think it was the Endeavor. I don't know. I named one of the ships you're allowed to name at this point after that person.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Just the first stage to finish loading.
Ship prop load has closed out. They are done loading the
T-minus
ship.
3 minutes.
Okay.
At that point,
Starship
when both
is ready to
stages are
rock and
loaded,
roll.
We will have the 10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board.
We're just waiting
Now,
for
in
the
next
booster to
few
finish.
minutes, the guidance system will begin its final alignment for flight during a quiet period when the rocket's not doing anything. The automated
funny.
flight termination
The-
system will be armed.
The booster's so
and
big,
final
it starts
TBC
fueling before
checkout
the Starship
will be
and it
performed.
finishes after.
Those are the engine wiggles. Hopefully we'll be able to see that.
How does that work? Like,
underneath the vehicle and
do they have various lines all the way through?
Yep. They have lines that they have lines that go all the way up the tower, and then the tower has an arm that grabs onto the Starship and fuels it that way.
If we do need to hold,
Mm.
the point where we hold the clock would be at T-minus 40 seconds.
So they do have a
We
built-in
can
hold at
pause
T-minus
there.
40.
Typically in the past, if we need a little bit more time to finish final checkouts or do some pressurization of the onboard storage tanks, that's where we would hold.
I love. It's not just the rocket that's venting, like the whole.
Oh, the whole
Minutes,
frickin'
27
complex, yeah.
seconds, everything looks
Yeah.
good. And of course,
Takes a lot of effort to get this sucker going.
Get into the engine ignition
Yeah.
sequence of 33
Now this whole complex is remote, right? Like there's no people
Oh,
anywhere near
there's a
here.
huge exclusion. It's like
For those of you that are familiar
the exclusion
with
is, I think,
how
10
we
miles
launch
around
Falcon 9
the launch
rockets,
site.
You
Wow.
probably know that we light all 9 of those first stage Merlin 1D engines all at once.
There
It's
is a
pretty
village
different
nearby,
than
but it
what
was
we do,
evacuated last
what we're
night.
attempting to do today. We're actually
And there's
going
only
to
like,
be igniting
as
those
we talked about
33
last time, I think
engines
there's
in
only like
banks,
10 people who live
or
there now.
clusters,
So-
and that sequence starts at T-minus 6
They've been
seconds.
evacuated long
And
since.
the ignition sequence is a little bit different. Both.
They, I imagine they get evacuated quite frequently.
So on
Yep.
Falcon 9, we use a chemical called T-Tab. It's a pyrophoric material, so that means
So the boosters are all white from the frost, but Starship is not.
Well, it is on its on the side that's facing the tower. You can see
Oh, okay.
it is frosty, but the heat shield tiles kind of have some insulation properties, so you don't see the frost on them.
That makes sense.
And then over the next 4 seconds, the 3 sets
When
of
you
banks
see
will ignite
another view
and
from the
eventually
other side,
bring,
you'll see that the
booster
Starship
up
is
to
white
a
as
thrust to
well
weight greater than 1, and hopefully
on the
ascend.
stainless steel side.
Super exciting, like we said.
Holy
pretty
crap!
different from our Falcon 9 launches, and so this will be the
5
first
minutes?
time that any of us have gotten
Yeah,
to
it's 5
see
minutes to
this
launch.
type of integrated test flight with both the Starship and the Super Heavy booster.
Here we go, big cheer.
Cheering as we get into T-minus 5 minutes.
We want to remind everyone that success today is anything.
It looks fun down there.
It's
Awesome. That's Hawthorne.
For today,
Their factory in
success is
Hawthorne.
Anything that we learn that helps improve the future builds of Starship. If we lift off and clear the pad, we're calling that a win.
A great shot of the pad there. A great shot of the quick disconnect on the second stage. You can see the frost line on the booster where that methane is fully topped up. I think we're just coming up on the last few minutes here of propellant fill on the booster.
So-
disconnect is going to separate away.
Here we
as
go.
we-
4 minutes. 4 minutes of launch.
But it's
Anyway.
providing electrical
That's a beautiful shot. Like the frost rippling down the
Mhm.
frame.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
4 minutes until liftoff of the
Um,
Starship flight test.
So
we've been
they've
following
launched
along for
Starship
what honestly seems
on its
like
own.
days and
Yeah,
days.
only-
And they've launched the boosters on their own?
No, the booster's never flown before,
It
ever.
has been a
The
long
booster's never
time
flown
to
before,
get to
okay.
No.
where we are today.
Starship has
Now,
flown,
fast
but only
forwarding
up
a
to
little
about
bit,
30,000
we
feet,
have
like the height of a
opportunity to
plane.
Hold, if necessary,
Um,
at 40 seconds.
and it-
and
yeah.
we are able to hold there
And that was
for
just to
about
test
15
the
minutes,
landing
or
methods.
up to 15 minutes,
Basically.
Yeah.
and still be able to lift off.
Yeah, and that's a little bit different from Falcon for the.
Woo!
propellant
Not ready for
sequence
this.
on
3 minutes and 20
that,
seconds.
we
Hey, Dad.
don't have the
Oh boy.
capability on Starship.
Hey, everyone else that I didn't say hey to because I came in
10
hot.
seconds and
Hi, Dad.
Some great views from the drone. It's nice
This is
that,
gonna be,
the fog is slowly lifting.
3
Some
minutes.
of the blue skies, hopefully good views.
Woo
What we're
boy.
waiting for right now is closeout of propellant loading on the first stage.
Let's see how
That should
let's
be
see how deep
wrapping
we
up
get in the count here. I'm
shortly.
really
In fact,
hoping
it
for some
looks
fire.
like, fuel fill and drain valves are coming closed.
It's funny because the environmentalist side of me is like, this is a huge waste of fuel and carbon emissions.
It's a much
But-
cooler thing to do than run an oil refinery.
Quick moment to say that the
Yes.
here is electric.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Falcon Heavy
But also,
all over again.
Like, Starship represents the cleanest that
Yeah, it's about as good as it
space
gets.
flight can be, right?
Well, not really. Like hydrogen rockets are better, but they often also need to be really, really big, and they also often need solid rocket boosters, which are really bad for the environment. So,
But it's not just that. Like
That's the problem.
the reduction in mining of the materials because you're not rebuilding the entire.
oh,
rocket
absolutely,
every time you launch
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, no, reuse is a huge thing. Reuse is a huge thing.
Reuse is the best sustainability win that can be had in
Definitely.
rocketry, really, for now.
Hello, everybody. We are 100 seconds to launch
Ryan.
of Starship.
2 minutes.
Okay,
Here we
why
go.
do we have... Oh, that looks like it's intended. Okay.
Love this view. These are the 33 Raptor engines.
Looks like they're
at
doing
the
some,
Am I behind?
super heavy
Flow through... Oh, Eric, we got the wiggle going!
Those wiggles now.
Do the wiggle.
We're currently inside 90 seconds.
Doing the engine wiggle.
Next major activity, T-minus 40 seconds. That is a gate, a decision point.
Why am I so far
Relating
behind?
possibility, the propulsion team may need a few minutes.
Okay, where's
70 seconds.
Flight termination system is armed for flight. We're getting ready for T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Oh boy. 1 minute to launch.
here we go.
Reminder, there is a built-in hold at T-minus 40 seconds where they may hold for a few minutes. Or not. It's up to them.
Next, we'll see as we get past T-minus 40 seconds for final checks of the vehicle.
And into the built-in hold now. Nope. They cruised right on by it. There we go. They're not holding. They're going. T-minus 30
it's just happening.
seconds. 30 seconds. Oh, my God. Oh, now they're... Oh. Okay, now they went back to T-minus 40.
There's a hold.
Okay, you can see the clock is recycled.
Oh. Come on.
Flight director has called a hold. We are recycling. For the moment,
Come on.
where they move the clock back to, they could hold at T-minus 40 seconds. They could go to an earlier point. Give us a minute to listen into the nets, and we'll see if we can get you more information to share.
See if we can figure out what's going on here. Come on, baby. Let's get some fire.
Let's launch this sucker.
Bated breath.
Come on.
Would have been less dramatic if they'd actually held at T-minus 40 like they were
At
supposed
40,
to.
yeah.
Oh.
This is that scene from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Make you shiver with anticipation.
Yeah. Oh, man. But if they got to take some time to make sure it doesn't explode on the pad, I'm good with that.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Take all the time you want. I just don't want another scrub.
Dodge.
I don't want no scrubs.
Excuse me.
Isn't that a song that you'd know?
Yes, David.
I don't want no scrubs. Scrub is a rocket that can't lift off, you see.
Yeah, some too.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Show us that countdown clock.
Scrub is a rocket that can't lift off, you see.
Just a reminder, they do have another hour in the launch windows, so if they do need some time, they do have it.
Okay.
John Innsbrucker again here at the Hawthorne webcast desk. We're holding a T-minus 40 seconds. What we've heard so far is we have a couple of issues we're working. One is the booster tank pressurization. Final pressurization was just a little bit long. That's not unusual. We've held at T-minus 40 seconds before to pressurize. That
Everyone's
issue
cheering.
resolved. At the same time on the second stage, they're working some final purging.
Ah,
We should know very shortly if that is cleared. And
come on, do it.
Everyone, especially that person, is excited to keep going.
Okay, so they can only hold for 15 minutes.
If we are able to continue, but as we mentioned before, we are able to hold up to 15 minutes and still be able to lift off today.
Yeah, on Falcon 9, it's a little bit different. Once we start propellant loading, we pretty much have to go at the targeted time. Otherwise, the propellants can warm up, and we may not have the performance for that particular mission profile. It's a little bit different on
And
Starship.
folks, if I can interrupt,
Yeah.
it looks like they're clearing all the flags, and we're going to release at T-minus 40 seconds.
Here we go.
Clearing.
That is amazing.
Minus 40 seconds.
Team working quickly through their issues on first and second stages.
And I'm sure all of the rehearsals and simulations
boy.
that they've been doing have prepared them to evaluate this data quickly to try to get us in for today's launch attempt.
Okay, so are they?
For those of you just joining, we have a brief hold at the T-minus 40-second mark. The team
They'll
is
probably be
resolving
just
one
deciding on a new
issue with
T0, so they'll.
on the stage 2 Raptors.
Yes, Darge.
Like John
Love
just
it.
said, the teams are quickly working that, and it looks like the flags are being cleared as we speak.
Sounds like they're
So
pretty
we should
positive
There you
about
go.
being able to continue, though.
down any moment.
Yeah.
They'll probably
I
be
want to
just.
see a full.
Starship that once we resume the countdown.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was just gonna say they're probably just determining the new T0 time, and then they'll pick up
Yeah.
the count at T-minus 40.
Stick around because Starship could be going here real soon.
Darge, I wanna see a full remix of the TLC song, but for rockets.
Amazing views here coming to us from Starbase, Texas.
Oh, that was a big cheer.
Yep.
That was a big cheer. Ah, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Everybody hold on to your butts.
Oh, jeez. What's going
20 seconds. Holy
20 seconds.
shit. Here we go.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
T
okay.
minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Remember, the engines will start lighting right now. Come on.
Come on.
We have engines.
Yep.
We have engines. Lift off, you. Come on. Yeah, it's going. It's going. Oh, there are pits. Oh, shit. There's explosions. Oh, boy.
There is some.
No, she's going, though. She's going.
Going.
Go, 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 go. Woo!
Wow.
Go, 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 go.
Holy crap.
She's flying.
Pressure nominal.
Oh, there are pieces falling off. She lost an engine. We lost at least one engine.
Whatever. It's clear the tower.
She's still going.
Much.
Looks like they've lost 2 engines. Looks like they're losing the 3rd engine. Go, baby, go, baby, go.
How many engines can they lose?
We don't know.
No.
They are down 5 engines. They're down 5 engines right now. Oh, look at that view! Holy shit! Go, baby, go, baby, go! They're down 5 engines. They are going. They are 8 kilometers up.
Oh my god. Max Q.
Call out for Max Q. They made Max Q. Woo! Maximum aerodynamic stress.
The first stage as we head downrange.
Wow.
Go, baby, go, baby, go! They have lost a 6th engine. They are 6 engines down.
Our next major activity is going to be shutdown of the first stage. The Houston tracking station now acquiring the vehicle. With shutdown, we will get separation of Starship and Super Heavy.
Come on, separate.
And addition of the Starship engines. When Starship
They do not have enough altitude.
We light up 6 engines in
No.
a staggered sequence.
It's
If all goes well, those 6 engines will burn for almost 6.5 minutes.
there.
Onboard
Oh,
views
look at
from
that.
Starship.
Look at that. Who cares?
Beautiful.
And those views of the Raptor engines on the second stage as we prepare for stage separation.
They reacquired one of their engines. She is
Oh, yeah.
flying sideways. That is not.
A little bit.
Nominal.
Nope.
She is sideways.
Oh, she just spun.
Yep.
Continuing to fly.
They are continuing to fly, John. They are continuing to fly. Not it just did a corkscrew.
Is that some flame on the side I see?
Yes, it is.
For stage separation.
Oh, no, this is intentional. They're flipping for stage separation.
Oh, really? They're at 37,
I don't know.
38 kilometers.
I don't know what's going on now.
Well, they're just going to keep flying and think until they, Come on, baby. It looks like they have some issues with their guidance, navigation, and control, but it's still going.
Something's happening.
As of right now, we are awaiting stage separation.
We are awaiting stage separation. I think I'm trying to get more altitude. They're
where
only
Starship
38 kilometers
should
up.
Separate from the Super Heavy booster.
37.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not number's not supposed to go down.
It's falling.
Right now, it looks
36.
Like we saw the start of the
Woo,
flip, but
boy!
obviously we're seeing from the ground
Shit's getting
cameras
real.
the
It's
entire Starship stack continuing to rotate. We should have had separation by now.
the flip is just
Obviously,
happening.
This is does not appear to be a nominal situation.
It is not nominal.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but I
It
do
is
want to
not
remind
nominal.
everyone that everything after clearing the tower was
Oh
icing
yeah.
on the cake.
Oh, she blew up.
Oh,
Woo! I think actually they blew it up. I think they hit the AFTS.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And there
Good job, boys. Woo!
promise and
Amazing.
to the Starship
That was wicked.
inaugural
That's fantastic.
flight.
Awesome.
I think that's the
Woo!
perfect result.
Hey.
We got launch, we got liftoff, and we got an explosion.
That was amazing. Oh my god.
Everyone here
Oh, good job, SpaceX.
to clear the pad and make it this far into the test flight, the first integrated flight. Of
Yeah,
the
they
booster
that
and
definitely looked like they hit the
Starship
self-destruct.
Live view there of our control center at Starbase, which we refer to as Star Command. As we said before, obviously we wanted to make it all the way through, but to get this far, honestly,
Yeah, it definitely held
was
together pretty
amazing.
well, but I think it was just not
Well, if
going
you're
any
just
further.
joining
So
us, Starship just experienced what we call
Well,
a rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
it was like pinwheeling end over end at the end there, so I think
it
seemed like it wasn't able to do the flip properly. Like it got too much momentum for the flip and can stop itself
Well,
from flipping.
it also was way too low. It's supposed to be like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like 70 kilometers, 80 kilometers up when it does that. Like when it does the stage
Right.
separation.
As we
I think that's
mentioned
why
at
it didn't
the start
separate. I
of
think that
today's
they
program,
did that
any and all
intentionally.
the data that we collected
Yeah.
Because
during
they
the test
needed
is
more
gonna help us
altitude.
with further
Um,
development of Starship, and it's going to
so-
improve the vehicle's reliability as
But,
SpaceX seeks to make life multiplanetary. It's
It
really
is
reusable.
reusable. Not on the not on
Designed
the
to be
test flight
over
though.
Water and all the
Yeah.
air and sea space, along
They'll
with
try
that
and
flight
reland
path and the
future
surrounding
ones.
areas
Yeah.
cleared in advance of the test.
Now they have to figure out how to make it. You have to make it fly before you can make it land.
But honestly, what an exciting morning.
That was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
That was
We had
great.
a Successful liftoff from Starbase, Texas at 8:28 a.m.
That was
Central
so
Time.
cool.
We
Oh,
cleared
man.
the
That
tower,
is
which
exciting.
honestly,
All right, everybody, do you want to rewatch that from the beginning?
we cleared the tower and all the data that we collected all the way through.
Yeah, let's do a quick
all those
rewatch.
factors,
The acceleration was pretty slow because they weren't firing the engines at full thrust.
But we got all that data, and we got so far as to.
All right, let's do it.
Because Starship could.
All right, you ready, David?
I am ready.
20 seconds. I'm gonna go from 20 seconds.
Okay, I gotta find 20 seconds. Just a second.
All right. Now, 10 seconds.
T minus 20. Okay.
5 seconds. She looked good on the ground. I want to know what kind of let go on the ground here. Because something did right there.
Yeah. It must have been either the stand it was on or an engine.
Maybe it was an engine that blew up. Did they have an engine? They had 3 engines
Yeah,
not there
started
on liftoff.
Yeah. So that was 3 engines that went all at once.
Yeah, you can look in the bottom left there. You can see the engine graph. There, they lost something too,
Yeah.
and then they had a
There they
flame
lost
out.
something, but what they lost there wasn't an engine.
Yeah, it didn't look like it. Could have been one of those hydraulic pressure or power units.
What a sight from the ground
Yeah.
cameras at Starbase. We're flying at twice the thrust of the Saturn V heading to space.
Wow.
We're throttled down and
Just
throttled
amazing.
back up. Going through the period of
Another
maximum
couple pieces
aerodynamic
fell off
pressure.
there. A lot of that shot right there, the blue glow of the engines.
It's so that is such a beaut. Like they need to make that an icon. Like put that right there on a shirt. It's beautiful.
Oh man, yeah, the vehicle held together really well considering it was undergoing some issues along the way.
Watch the first stage as we hit
Yeah.
downrange. 100 seconds into
That-
flight.
See, here they started having problems because they weren't, like, they're gaining altitude really slowly.
Yeah.
Houston tracking station now.
This is where they had lost 6 engines at this point.
With shutdown,
So-
we
Yeah.
will get separation of Starship and Super Heavy and ignition of the Starship engines. When Starship separates, we light up 6 engines in a staggered sequence. And if all goes well, those 6 engines will burn for almost 6.5 minutes. Onboard view from Starship.
That is still an amazing view.
Oh, it's an amazing view.
It's
It's an amazing view.
As we prepare for stage separation. Now, after stage separation,
See,
the
here's where we were really in a problem here.
stage will flip
Yeah.
and begin a boost back.
It
maneuver
started
for
to turn
landing
sideways,
on
and
the wall.
that's when
see-
that's when you start putting your hand over the button to blow it up because it's not going the right direction anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
It's-
like at this point in flight, they should have been at
Continuing
about
to
70
fly,
kilometers,
2 minutes 40
and
seconds.
they're
Let's
at,
get
or
ready
sorry,
for
65
main engine
kilometers.
cutoff.
They're at 35, so they're just nowhere
Yeah.
near what they need to be.
Beginning to flip for stage separation.
Like, at this point, they've gone back and back again, and now they're just,
Yeah, just corkscrewing, basically.
yeah.
Hey, Malchieri, yeah, it was a great test. They've been talking about this the whole time. As long as it clears the tower, it's good to go. Thumbs up.
A flawless test would be preferable,
Oh yeah, but
but this is the next best thing to a perfect flight because you get so much data on what went wrong. Why did those engines blow up? Why did it corks? Like, they'll be able to use all this data to fix future flights.
oh exactly, and
Kate, right now,
also
it
what's
looks
worth
like we
noting,
saw the start of the flip, but obviously we're seeing from the ground cameras the entire Starship stack continuing to rotate. We should have had separation by now. Obviously,
worth
this
noting
is,
that,
does not appear to be a nominal
Booster
situation.
9 already has a whole bunch of
it does
upgrades
appear
from
to
this
be
booster,
spinning, but I do
like
want to remind
already,
everyone that
and then they'll build in a whole bunch more
everything
based on
after
this flight.
clearing the tower
And
was
there it
icing on
goes.
the cake.
And there she goes. I'm pretty sure they hit the AFTS system.
Yeah.
That's why you say 2 explosions too, because they probably hit both of the destruct buttons.
As you saw, as we
Yeah.
promised, an
Just beautiful.
Yeah.
the Starship.
It looks like they got most of it too. Looks like the AFTS worked really well too. It basically destroyed the whole entire vehicle, which is good.
Yep.
Wow. Holy shit.
That was
Woo!
that
Yeah.
was pretty good.
That was amazing.
Everyone here
Yeah,
absolutely
Malkiri, glad you had a minute to catch it with us. Glad everyone had a minute to catch it with us. That was really.
flight of the booster. and
That
was
was
the
freaking
vehicle.
cool.
That's the
Live view
That is
here
the largest
of our
rocket
control
ever
center at Starbase,
launched.
Yep.
which we refer to as
Yep.
Star Command.
And it did fly.
It did fly.
As we said
And next
before,
time it'll get
obviously
further.
we wanted to
They do
make it
have
all the way through, but to get this far, honestly, is amazing.
I'm just
Well,
going
if
to
you
mute
just-
the stream here. A couple things. It kind of depends how they want to proceed. The FAA will have SpaceX and FAA will have an investigation because it wasn't nominal. I suspect their investigation won't be too crazy this time around because it was a test flight and it was expected to have some kind of failure, and because they, did what they were expecting to do, which is make it off the pad. So they will have some kind of an investigation, but that means they can't launch like next week. I guess it's gonna be a little while, probably a few months. Booster 9 is basically ready to go. Ship 26, I think, is the next one up. Is basically ready to go. The only possible delay, first of all, they'll have to assess the damage to the launch site. There will be some. We saw something let go.
Yeah.
But it didn't look very big, so I think whatever it is probably not like super critical. So once they have the launch site fixed up, and it is possible, they do have a water deluge system that they have decided to install, but they didn't install it before this test because it was going to take some time. They may go ahead and install that. That involves digging up some of the ground around the base of the launch pad. And that will help prevent some of the damage to the launch site in the future. But But yeah, I do expect them to probably follow on with another launch, probably late this summer, is my guess. But we will see, and I will keep everybody updated in our Space Race channel. But that was amazing, and it's great to see us back to flight tests for the Starship program.
Yep. That was an exciting first launch, and we're only going to get more from here on out.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing. I am impressed they did actually lift off with 3 engines out. I didn't know if they were going to do that. But I do think they really wanted to get this flight off the ground and to get as much data as they possibly could, because they really needed flight data in order to continue to improve the program.
Yeah.
So, how far off the coast? Well, it got to an altitude of about 38 kilometers. Not sure how far down range it got, but I would say probably a ways. It definitely wasn't going straight up. You could see immediately after launch it was already turned over. It probably got a good I would say 10, 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers downrange. But yeah, I'm sure we'll hear some of those details in the coming days too, as they talk about this flight. Thank you everybody very much for watching with us. And
yes, thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to go out on here? We are going to try and stream this Saturday for Star Citizen. Exciting times.
Join us Saturday. We're going to hang out, play some Star Citizen, see what happens. And
yeah,
we'll do our best to stream the next one of these whenever it happens.
Absolutely.
So, thanks everyone.
Thanks
Stay safe.
everybody. Bye.